Just kidding. Could you imagine? I would die. And more importantly, this is a very nice bottle of bourbon that you can't be wasting on chugging or taking shots or whatever. So there's that. But this is my favorite low effort costume. Great if you're at a BYOB party. The drunker you get, the more in costume you are. Thought that might be a fun little thing to be in costume for my October reading wrap up. So let's get into it. Alright, this was a monster reading month for me. I read so much, but I'm going to do my best to keep this wrap up fairly short because like 90% of the books I read, I have a semi-dedicated vlog to. So if you want more in-depth thoughts, I will be sure to attach the vlog when I'm talking about it. So, stats. 19 books. That's a lot. You can see the format breakdown. My total page length was almost 4,000 pages. 3,945 pages. Again, bonkers. Absolutely bonkers bananas. I love it. So cool. Total audiobook time of 55.5 hours and an average page length of 263. My average rating was like a 4.2. So pretty good there. 8 of the books I read, I already owned. 7 of them I bought this year, and 4 of them I borrowed from the library. Here is my genre/audience breakdown. I don't normally include an audience breakdown, but because I read some YA and some middle grade more so than I normally do this month, I thought I would add that in there as well. So that is all the stats. Before I get into the book by book review, please consider liking and commenting on this video and subscribing to my channel if you like bookish things. Typically, I do my reading wrap-ups in like mostly chronological, but if you don't know, this last month in October, I took part in the Squash That Series readathon, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're trying to finish series. So instead of going each book chronologically in the order I read them, I'm going to somewhat group them by series, so that way it just kind of flows a little bit better. So the first book I read this month was A History of What Comes Next, and then for the Squash That Series readathon, I read its sequel, Until the Last of Me. A History of What Comes Next follows this duo pair of alien women whose job it is here on Earth to help mankind get to the stars. So this is the Take Them to the Stars series, and it's pretty much that. It's these 2 women figuring out what they can do behind the scenes to get mankind off the Earth. We don't really know why. We get some answers in the second one, but it is extremely thrilling. Lots of great fun history, science tidbits in here. Not all of it correct. I know for a fact one of the tidbits they try to throw into this first book is not super historically accurate, so maybe take it with a grain of salt like you do with most fiction, but super fun. This first one focuses on the story of one of these alien women helping in Operation Paperclip to bring von Braun from Nazi Germany to the US to help with rockets research. The second one takes part during the space race in, the 60s to 80s Cold War time frame, and these women poking both sides of the Cold War to kind of help get the space race going along. So if you are a fan of World War II, Cold War era history, rocket science, thrilling adventure novels, definitely 10 out of 10 recommend. Also, this book has a lot of major themes of motherhood, seeing as there's like this mother-daughter pairing of these aliens through many years on this Earth, and I just think it's really cool to come across like a sci-fi series with such a heavy emphasis on motherhood. Moms don't get much recognition, I feel like, in the sci-fi fantasy realm, so shouts. We love the moms. So the next series I will talk about is The Hawthorne Legacy. So this is book 2 and 3 of the Hawthorne Legacy. So if you are unfamiliar with the Inheritance Games series, the Inheritance Games follows a young woman by the name of Avery after she inherits this grand estate from a man she doesn't know. And she basically inherits this estate out from under the rest of his family. So the rest of his family gets nothing, she gets everything. The major capitulation to this is she must live in the house with the rest of the family for like a year. That's kind of the focus of the first one. Why is she getting this money? How she's like settling into this crazy billionaire lifestyle. By the time we get to these two follow-ups, she's kind of fully ingratiated herself into this family. Like, she is a Hawthorne for all intents and purposes. And there's many more puzzles to be solved. This billionaire guy was super into puzzles and scavenger hunts and all sorts of crazy things. These books basically turn into like soap opera puzzle adventures. There's all sorts of crazy family relations, all sorts of hidden secrets, and there's just twists and turns at every stage, and it's just a fun YA mystery thriller romp. I really enjoyed them. They're pretty quick and easy to breeze through, so if you're looking for just a fun, light-ish, but still kind of dark, some darker themes, I guess some older adult-ish themes, I would recommend. So the next kind of series I will talk about is The Heroes of Olympus. I read the second, third, and fourth one in this last month of October. I don't know how much more I can really say about, the Percy Jackson universe that hasn't been said already, but I'm obsessed. I love Percy Jackson, obviously, big fan. It wasn't the start of my Greek mythology obsession, but it definitely didn't hurt my Greek mythology obsession. I really love these books. I love these characters. I love seeing kind of, not the next generation, but just kind of the heroes aged up a little bit. So, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, definitely middle grade. I think this Hero of Olympus series is kind of early young adult. PJO, upper middle grade. Heroes of Olympus, lower YA. It's a very good transition for working your way up, and it's fun to come back to as an adult and kind of see some more, young adult themes. They're discovering love and relationships and how to deal with toxic relationships with other people. I don't know. I think it's fun. I mean, they're a good time. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what else I can say about these. Everybody's obsessed. We're all obsessed. The next book I read was The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This was really fun. If you're looking for like a Halloween, which I guess it's going to be past Halloween by the time I post this. Today is actually, the day I'm filming this is Halloween. So this would be a perfect read if you're somehow watching this before I post it. But it is a super fun witchy romance. It is the follow-up to The Ex-Hex, which was another fun small town witchy romance. Like you don't really need to know anything about this besides small town witchy romance. Like if that is intriguing to you and you just want, a fun, good time, you'll probably enjoy this. If you're wanting good writing and good editing, this is not for you. But if you're just looking to have a good time, this book's number is written on a bathroom stall somewhere. So the next two books I will talk about are part of the Sigma Force by James Rollins. The first one is Kowalski's In Love. This is a short story that was a part of a larger anthology that James Patterson put together back in like 2006-ish time frame, I believe. So it introduces one of the characters that will be a part of the Sigma Force later. So it is listed as like 2.5 in Sigma Force, but in my opinion, it should really be 3.5. It should follow Black Order because Kowalski does not show up in Black Order at all. From there, it's a short little story. It's like 27 pages. So if you're into Sigma Force, definitely worth your time. Black Order is the third in the Sigma Force series, and it is the first one in the series that really feels like we're getting into what I remember as a Sigma Force novel, considering I've read all of them already. When I think of a Sigma Force novel, it feels a little bit closer to what this book is versus the first two. There's a lot of philosophical debate within the themes of the book of man versus nature and what man can potentially do to control nature and how nature will fight back against that. There's lots of great science, lots of great history. We're straying away from kind of the Robert Langdon symbology sort of stuff and weird clue connecting sort of stuff. There's still a little bit in here, but we're getting away from that a little bit. So this one finds the Sigma Force team in Nepal, Denmark, and South Africa in a global threat. Could be used to describe any Sigma Force novel, but this one I really, really enjoyed. Next on the docket was This Wicked Fate, another young adult, young girl inherits a giant estate. But this one is more kind of fantasy related. I'm really struggling with these shiny covers. The young woman on the front has like poison ivy powers, like she's not affected by plant poisons and she can grow plants really, really fast and they respond to her energy and aura. So in the first book, we just kind of follow her inheriting this estate, figuring out what's going on with her family. She's got kind of an interesting tie-in to a Greek mythology figure, and that is why she has these crazy powers. In this book, we go on a MacGuffin quest to save a character that was hurt in the first book. I do go into a lot of my feelings about this book in a vlog. Like I said, most of these books are in a vlog of some sort, so I will link that vlog. But I do feel like this book could have benefited from being a little longer. But if you are interested in YA fantasy, specifically with a Greek mythology tie-in, I don't think you could go wrong with this series. I think it's really fun. I think there is a lot of great representation in here. It is black girl in the lead. She has a sapphic romance with another black girl, and it's just vibes. It's a good time. I enjoyed it immensely. The next book I listened to was Homicide and Halo-Halo. This is the follow-up to Arsenic and Adobo. The Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mysteries, I believe is what the series is called. So these are kind of cozy mysteries that take place in this small town of Shady Palms, I believe is the name of the town. And somehow our main character always gets roped in to these murder investigations. In the first book, she's actually the main suspect of the murder. Fortunately, in this one, we get to ease back from some of that tension, and it is her cousin who is the main suspect. So still a lot of tension as far as we need to get this mystery solved, but a little less tension that it's not directly our main character trying to save her own life and livelihood. So it was really fun, a really good listen. I really like the narrator for these books. I think she does a really, really good job. So that's definitely a plus. I mean, you can't go wrong with the cozy mystery, but these books do make me really, really hungry because they talk about food like every chapter. So just be prepared to be hungry when you read this book. Next on the list is these bad boys. So these are children's chapter books on Greek mythology that I read as a child. I only read the first 3 when I was a kid. For some reason I never got my hands on the next 3, but I thought it'd be really fun to go back, reread them. Their shtick is that they are told from the perspective of Hades, the god of the underworld. So this first book follows, what is that? Titan, I don't know how to say any of these words. It follows the gods of Olympus overtaking the Titans after the Olympians' dad, Kronos, swallows all of his kids to keep them from overthrowing him. But then, the kids overthrow him anyway. So that first book kind of follows this whole story. It has a really cute kind of intro about Hades growing up in his dad's stomach, and it goes through till Hades kind of takes over the underworld, where they split up the world amongst the Olympians and Hades down there. The next one, Phone Home Persephone, as you can probably guess, is the Hades and Persephone myth from the perspective of Hades. So obviously we're not kidnapping Persephone in this. She is a willing participant. I don't think trick-or-treating's starting yet. Sorry, there's kids outside with costumes on. I think they're just walking back from school. I don't think the trick-or-treating's starting yet. Anyway, if you're familiar with Hades and Persephone, just kind of like make it for little kids and make it sassy. And that's this book. The next one, Seichi's Medusa, was one of my actual favorites that I read. Rereading this was so much fun. This follows the story of Medusa, the Gorgon, and even going back to kind of her Medusa's origin as a moon goddess who gets turned into the Gorgon because of Athena. And we kind of go through that whole thing. But then it's made like really sweet and cute by the end, and Perseus goes through his whole thing, and it's good time. It's vibes. I don't want to spoil it. I really do think, like, if you're a Greek mythology fan, I do think you should go through and read these. Like, you can read any of these in one sitting. They're super fun, and I like them. Nice Shot Cupid. This is the retelling of the Cupid and Eurydice story. Stop That Bull Theseus. Theseus in the Bull, as well as Theseus defeating like the 3 giants or whatever. I don't know. I think they're giants or ruffians or barbarians on the way to Athens when he is claiming his birthright. So that's kind of cool. I mean, these do go a lot more in depth into the actual source material than you think they would. They're obviously well researched, but I think they usually end up doing something really fun with the source material instead of just like word for word copying them over. And then the final one, Keep a Lid on It, Pandora. This was probably my least favorite of the series. I just found it really slow and boring. This one goes back to the creation of man with Prometheus creating man, and then the gods gifting Pandora to Prometheus's brother, Epimetheus? I don't remember what his name is, in order to have her release all of this terrible stuff to humanity, to punish humanity for acts they did not commit. So that's fun. If you or a kid in your life really likes Greek mythology, I would highly recommend these because they're a super fun time. And it's, you know, it's very different from something like a Dolores Book of Myths where it's really trying to hold true to the source material without being too graphic, because I think that is kind of targeted towards kids. This one is just all the way into fantastical fun times. So 10 out of 10 would recommend this series. And finally, the last book we will talk about that I finished today is Babel. And I go into this quite a bit in my most recent vlog, so I will attach that there. But if you haven't heard of this book, I'm not going to explain it to you because there's 1,000 other people on YouTube who've explained it much better than I ever could. But I will throw in my 2 cents and say I really enjoyed it. I thought the author did a really good job of investigating intersectional privilege. What does it mean to be a white woman versus a man of color versus a woman of color, and how does that, as well as socioeconomic class and kind of your family upbringing, and how does that affect you as a person. I mean, there's just a lot to dig into here. I mean, it's a thick book, so you would think that there's probably a lot going on, and there is. Also, really fun. Well, fun's the wrong word. I got a lot of like academic PTSD from this book. I was like reading through and I'm like, ooh, I remember those feelings. Those weren't great. But this book is part urban fantasy, historical fiction, and then like part crime political thriller. So you kind of get, there's a little something in here for everybody. Everybody's gonna find something to enjoy in this book. So I would recommend it, especially if you enjoyed the Poppy War, because I definitely think this is a kind of, it's the same thesis as the Poppy War, but definitely more refined, more polished. This is a more polished Poppy War. So, oh my god, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to pick up all these books for a thumbnail. These are all the physical books I read, and then of course there's my audiobooks. But yeah, this is crazy. Looking at this. What did I do in October? Obviously nothing but read. But let me know if you have any questions about any of these books that I read, or if you have any comments or concerns for my mental health. And thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.